Disappearing from existence, Cooper Eli was known to everybody as a troubled kid growing up, ill-kid and troubled by the law. Growing up wasn't easy, it was hard for him, or maybe because he lost his father in the early age and he didn't have anybody to teach him right wrong. His father left him when he was a kid, and when he grew up he became worse than anybody in history. When he was a kid he started stealing and he joined multiple in history. He is well known to join many gangs that existed back and always wanted to make his own gangs. He was popular for his ways of doing business, and he was well known, and he was good at it. He was a troubled kid in a teenage growing up. He is known for taunting his rival. He joined many gangs growing up and he was active in all of them, and when he left them he would join another one, and he'll make enemies with his original gangs and all the gangs he was in before he switched, and he was hated since he was a kid. The cops hated him. They that I would sentence him to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Then the judge saw his crime and the judge decided to send him to death, and he was sentenced to death by hand. When he was sentenced to be hanged he got hanged, and everybody saw it, and his body was collected by a person who nobody ever seen or heard of, even knew. He came in a mysterious way and he collected body, and the government came and asked for the body of the criminal. Then they said, because by the time nobody wanted to collect his body, even his parents and everybody who was related to him didn't want to collect his body, but a mysterious person did who nobody knew. And couldn't he manage to not make it to history? Then it was changed because there were many copycat, and the mysterious person made in history. There were many copycat back then. Even forensics couldn't find the person who collected his body. It's like he did not exist, or the body did not exist. It's like he never existed there, and to this day he makes history. Then he came and people started forgetting about Cooper Eli. He was forgotten in history. Then he was gone out of history books. Then he was back from all history when the government decided to tell people about him, and all the generation began to know him while the past generation faded, and some of them knew Cooper Eli because of their parents who were before them, and their grandparents, and everybody who was related to them knew Cooper Eli. He made history and he sure brought a whole bunch of copycat. Even forensics couldn't solve the mystery since it was a long time. His record was showed that he'd been dead by hand, and the person who collected his body, they believe he died. They just don't know where, and I don't know if he died out of existence. His body was never solved, even Cooper Eli. Then he came to pass that the government, the president, and a whole bunch of well-known citizens and kings and queen, they were starting to disappear randomly. Nobody knew what was the cause of their disappearing. Then a famous writer was looking at one of the stories of Cooper Eli, Cooper, his death and everything, and he saw that the story was great, and he didn't have anything to tell people in the news because there wasn't any news. Then he decided to use Cooper Eli, and he said Cooper Eli was the cause of their mysterious vanish. His story was so well that he wasn't only a millions of people who read it, it was a chillion of people who read it, and it was so interesting that rumors spread fast than ever in history before Cooper Eli was alive. And there were people who believed he was alive, and there were people who also believed he was dead. And what would you do, and what would you think if Cooper Eli was alive? There'd been rumors to this day spreading about Cooper Eli. It's based one novel and a best-selling book of all time, and it's well used in movies, shows. The story's very old.